Testing 1 2 3. Can you guys hear me? Hello, hello. How are we all? I'll also go ahead and turn on the background music while I'm at it too. Get those volumes adjusted. It's gonna start off real quiet. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Hope you're all doing well this fine Friday evening. Figured I would go ahead and turn on the microphone a little bit early. Just turn the light on and let people know that we are live. Thank you, Edge, for the confirmation. Much appreciated. Hope you had a decent week, a good week, a good Friday. I know today was pretty good for me. I got a lot done. Hired a lot of people for once. It's been years. Cool. Thank you very much, PA. If the music gets a little bit loud or whatever, just chime in and let me know. And alternatively, if it's too low and you can't hear it, again, just chime in and let me know. Story pulled up here. So many windows, so many tabs. So we'll go ahead, we'll let the clock tick out for the next 8 minutes. Just give people a chance to file in, take their seats. Actually, PA, to be honest, I have yet to listen to them. Or anybody else, actually, that's gotten me their lines so far. But if I know you, they'll be fine. If there's an issue, I'll let you know, but yeah, there's never been an issue. Sit here, hit my vape, and just kind of chill. It's almost 9:30. These streams are so laid back. Oh yeah, no, I definitely got them. I've got them downloaded. I'm ready to go. There's actually only one other person that still has to get me lines. And I was promised they would get them to me today. And the day is not over yet, so I'm sure they'll be here. But we're still right on schedule for getting things pieced together and stuff. So it's all good. It's all good. I just narrated Confronting Evil 6 today. So I'm going to start piecing in the lines now that I've narrated it, which is why I needed them. Which is pretty cool, because tomorrow Confronting Evil 5 releases. So that shows you how far ahead of myself I am. About 3 weeks ahead. It's always good to be ahead of the game if possible. You might hear some water trickling in the background. It is very, very cold outside where we are. So just kind of help the plumbing a bit. Let the water just trickle in the background, so you might hear that. Might hear a heater. Could hear cats chasing each other around. Oh, you never know what's going to happen in these streams. But at least now you got some video background to stare at. No more black screens. Baby steps. So how's everybody's week been? Good week, bad week? Same week as last week? I should do? I should turn the ringer off on my cell phone, too. Just in case. Hello, Minty. How are you? Happy Friday evening. We're still in the pre-stream phase. Haven't officially kicked anything off yet. It is not quite 9:30. Just going to wait that other 4 minutes. Let other people just kind of file in. Let them see the light is on and we are ready to go. Good to hear. Good to hear. As long as it hasn't been bad. You know what I mean? That's always a good thing. Nice. I actually got my narrating, my recording done already earlier this evening. So I'm like all set. Ready for the weekend, baby. Ready to go. I even whipped up 2 videos in the process as well. Actually got to do some uploading when I'm done with the stream tonight. I hear you there, Nightmare. The week could have been worse. So I have a feeling next week for me is going to be worse than this week. So I'm just going to try and enjoy the week I had. What's up, Jose? How are you? Happy Friday, my friend. Hope that background music's not too loud. I'm watching the volume levels on that get a little bit high. So if it's too loud and it's over top of me, just let me know. It is the live edition, complete with screw-ups and breaking dishes and the whole 9. Should be a good time, though. I'm very excited. I've never read this story live. It's actually been a while since I've read it. It's been a while since I've listened to it. And I really like this story. It was written by both Doughboy420 and myself. It was a co-written project. It was actually one of the Halloween specials for my old channel. The origin story of Locust Lake. Which is something that we both kind of had in mind when we were making the Locust Lakes. But we just didn't tell the origin story yet. And then we just released it. I think this came out after the Blackwoods, just a gosh darn summer camp. So we were almost done with the first series when we finally released the origin story. So it was pretty fun. What's up, Frank? How are you? Welcome. Happy Friday, my friend. Gotta wet the whistle a little bit here, make sure I don't accidentally kick the router, knock myself off the internet. Oh boy, what a mess that would be. No, knock on wood. I don't believe I have seen Moonraven 9. I'll take a look though. 9:29. Got ourselves a full 30 seconds right now. Boom kazoom. So, almost ready to kick this thing off officially. So many things to talk about, and I'm trying so hard not to talk about them until we officially get it started. Lots of good happenings going on. So, that'll be cool. Let's bring that level of volume down just a little bit on the music. Looked like it was getting a little loud. So, okay, it looks a little bit more tolerable. Hey, Dark Elf, how are you? Happy Friday, and yes, let's begin. It is now 9:30, so it is time to officially kick off the Lady of the Water, the Origins of Locust Lake live reading live stream. So it is now official. We have now started. The reason why I chose this story for tonight is tomorrow, or not tomorrow, tomorrow is actually Confronting Evil. Next week, next Saturday, there is a brand new Locust Lake story coming out. It is part of the Journal series, so it is kind of a prequel in a sense. It's set within the already established timeline. But then 3 days, 4 days after that, maybe even on that day, and then I'll just promote it a few days after, the new book is going to drop. So there is a brand new Locust Lake book coming out in days, just a few days. So wanted to go ahead and kind of start getting eyes back on Locust Lake a little bit, as much as I can. I know the series has kind of been concluded, at least for the time being. But, wanted to get the eyes back on it because now that the new book is releasing, there is, beyond the new story that's releasing next week, there is also 3 more stories in the book that are exclusive to it. Brand new, never been heard, never been narrated, and never will be narrated. They are exclusive to the book. So again, just wanted to kind of get eyes focused back on the lake because we are returning full steam. Make sure I didn't miss anybody in the chat. I think I'm pretty well caught up with my hellos. Happy Friday, ISB, for sure. I have not heard Chavis Cravies. I don't know if I said that correctly. If not, I tried. I will certainly, again, I will take a look at it for sure. I'll have to go back and just watch take a look at the live chat after I stream it, because you can do that. Come watch the replay, so that'll work out well. Yeah, so we'll jump into the story here in a minute or two. Obviously, you know me, I don't dally too long on that, but I do want to just give you guys a chance to get settled. Maybe ask any questions if you guys have anything before we begin, because you know me, once I start the story, I don't even look at the chat until I am done. So I'm going to miss all that happy goodness while I'm reading. So if you got anything in there, just try and get it out of your system, the next, minute or two. And then we will jump into this story, which is the reason that you are here. And this is actually good timing. I got to go change out vape batteries. So I will be back momentarily. Please enjoy the music. Well, that is a very nice comment, Frank, to come back to, and I appreciate that. Well, let me go ahead and turn the music down. I'll repeat that. Thank you, Frank. That was a very nice comment to come back to. I know you guys are here, for me. I get that. But I do also realize that it is a horror channel, and a lot of people that are here for, the horror. So I figure we will jump into that here momentarily. Just wanted to get my vape reset back up. Batteries are still pretty low, but the other ones are charging. And by the time this story is done, I'll have a decent charge on them. This is 3,500 words long, so it will take me about a half an hour, 25 minutes to get through. I do want to apologize ahead of time for the great amount of screw-ups and misspeaks that are sure to ensue, for any kitty cats, broken dishes, or any other said interruptions that may occur during this reading. And just try and bear with me. I'll try and get through it as gracefully as I can. All right. We'll get ready. Here we go. Doughboy420 and I call this one The Lady of the Water, The Origins of Locust Lake. A legend passed down among many American... Wow, that was early. A legend passed down among many Native American tribes is that of the Battle of the Bear and the Deer. The bear was proud and selfish. He was easily made angry and often caused much trouble amongst the animals of the Great Council. One day, the deer had been seen crossing the great Rainbow Bridge to the Skyland. The deer was not permitted to do this, and it angered the bear. So, the bear confronted the deer and asked him why he had done this. The two of them exchanged words, and a fight began. The deer raised its head, showing its antlers to the bear, and a fire burned within its eyes. The bear stood strong, and his roar echoed through the forests like thunder. The bear dug his mighty claws into the deer, and the deer stabbed his sharpened antlers into the bear. The rest of the animals of the Great Council had all heard of the commotion, and the wolf came to stop the battle. All of the animals of the council had to listen to the wolf, and after the bear and the deer had seen the wolf, they both fled in opposite directions. As the deer ran, the blood of the bear fell from his antlers to the lower world beneath. It landed upon the trees and changed their colors. Some were crimson, some were yellow, some brown, and some tan. Now, it is said that every autumn, the trees remember this battle. They remember the leaves being stained with the blood of the bear, and they change every year. Each year the leaves turn, and they die, just as everything is meant to die. There is a festival known as the Festival of Reason that is held once every 12 years among the Susquehannock peoples and other neighboring tribes. Every 12 years, the bodies of those that had passed during that period would be brought out of their tombs in the cemeteries and would be delivered into a building together. There, the surviving relatives would begin to mourn the passing of their loved ones again, their grief returning anew, just as it was the day of their funeral. This was not a festival for just single tribes. The tribes of the area would all come together in peace, all of them bringing their dead as well, to mourn and celebrate their dead together. And together, they would feast with their tribesmen, both alive and dead. The entire process lasted several days, and in the end, the dead were wrapped in blankets and animal skins, and a mass grave was dug. Here, all of the bodies would be placed inside, before they were covered beneath a great burial mound. It is said that on the final day of the Festival of Reason, there was a young girl at about the age of 12. She was collecting flowers near the lake, a lake that would later be named for the swarms of locusts that gathered around it every so many years, Locust Lake. The girl was being stalked, however. 2 young men of another tribe had been following her. They had stalked her through a forest nearby, shaded by thick canopy, and down into an open field. She picked flowers along the way as she approached the lake, but when she reached the lake's edge, the 2 men jumped into action. Together, the men forced themselves upon the girl, the 2 of them with nefarious intentions in mind and in action. One of them pulled out a crude knife fashioned from the antler of a deer. The girl struggled against them, screaming desperately for help. During the struggle, The girl fell against the man with a deer antler knife, and the knife accidentally plunged into her torso. She quickly fell down into the water. The men soon stopped and realized what they'd done. The girl was now lying face down in the water. A pool of red began to form around her as she floated there. The two men panicked and ran back to the festival. They pretended nothing happened, but before the end of the festival, the girl's body would be found. The girl's mother had left the village to look for her daughter. She made her way down the hill and through the same shaded woods. Soon, the lake came into view, and from a distance, the girl's mother could see a figure within the water. In a panic, the woman ran through the field toward the lake, diving into the water in a desperate attempt to save her daughter, but her daughter was already dead. The woman held her young daughter's lifeless body and cried over her, screaming in pain at her great loss. She stayed there in the lake, holding her daughter close to her until the festival was over. She cried over her daughter's body all night until they were found the next day via a party of hunters from the village. The poor woman was pained too greatly to speak, and no one knew what happened to the girl, save for the two young men that had killed her. But they were long gone with their tribesmen, and they weren't going to reveal their secret. The tribe prepared the funeral of the girl for the mother, for she was too distressed to do anything. The girl was wrapped in blankets and animal skins and placed within the tomb of the cemetery. The great mourning would follow. It was customary for the family of the deceased to mourn for 10 days as they lay wrapped in a blanket face down on their bed mats, very much like the deceased relative in their tomb. They would not speak to anyone that came to visit them for a full 10 days, for their pain was great. Then, after the 10 days were over, they would begin to speak to others again, but would continue to mourn the loss of their loved ones for a full year. However, the mother of this girl was completely devastated. She did not follow the normal way of mourning the dead. Instead, she would visit the lake every day and spend much of the day there, half submerged in the water where her daughter had died. The woman barely ate or drank anything, and she spoke to no one. When it came time for her to return to her normal life in the tribe, she did not. She instead continued to return to the lake, where her daughter spent her last moments. Over time, the tribe began to view her as a disturbed individual, a woman that had lost her will, a woman who had lost her own spirit with the spirit of her daughter that night of the Festival of Reason. The tribe began to call her Akenefti Oniga, or Lady of the Water. She spent every day within the lake, not speaking a word. Every day she returned to that spot. Every day for 12 years, until the day had come, the day of the Festival of Reason. On that particular anniversary, the woman, grown a little feebler with age, had a strong urge to remain away from the festival. She knew that on this day, her daughter's killers would once again visit the water's edge. She couldn't bear to endure such an emotionally stressful event. That day, the old woman stayed in the village, just on the other side of the shaded woods, while the rest of the tribe attended the festival at Locust Lake. The sounds of the ceremony echoed through the forest and across the valley. This made it easy for the woman to identify when the festival had ended. She watched as the rest of her village returned home, smiles adorned upon their faces,
still pleased from the recent festivities. She couldn't stand it. Once every member of the tribe had fallen asleep, the grief-stricken woman crept from the village and down into the shaded woods. The night was starlit, and it was highlighted by identifiable details of the lush autumn forest, making it quite easy for the woman to see. She had lived here her entire life, however, and could have completed her trek blind. She followed the trail through the dense woods, halfway down the mountainside and to the glistening dark waters of the lake. She placed one naked foot into the water's edge and submerged it below the crisp surface, planting it into the muck beneath. Then, the other. The woman waded into the lake waist deep, profoundly sobbing with her face in her hands, tears dripping to the surface and mixing with the lake water. She pleaded. She begged from the bottom of her soul to the forest spirits to provide justice for her daughter and bring an end to her own suffering. For hours, shivering in the water in the dead of night, the woman kept with her grieving. Through the sounds of her weeping and rapid gasps for air, she heard something not too far away, a sound not typical of her environment. However, it sounded as if it were coming from the center of the lake. The woman removed her hands from her face and peered out into the darkness. The sound was distinct. Whatever it was definitely out in the lake, but too far away for the old, sobbing woman's eyes. Suddenly, she was able to associate it with something else. It was a bubbling, like that of bringing water to a rolling boil over an open fire. Straining her eyes, she could finally make out the source of the sound, but only as the figure began to rise from it. It seemed to emerge from the depths of the lake up to its waist, and then proceeded to move towards her, as if either floating in the water or having extremely long, unnatural legs. When it had gotten close enough, the woman was able to gain one detailed, unforgettable glance at the creature before her world went black. She lifted up her hands to her eyes, stared up at the dust. She lifted her hands up to her eyes, stared up at the starry night, but saw nothing but blackness. She had been stricken blind. The sloshing sounds of the thing in the water, moving ever closer to her, could be easily heard by her now probing ears. She began to shake with fear, unsure if what she had glimpsed was the truth. It wasn't until it had moved past her that she accepted it, rejoicing that her prayers had been answered. In that single moment that she landed sight on the being, now heard leaving the water's edge, she had sworn she had recognized it as her daughter. Sure, her flesh had become rotten and swollen with water, her eyes a ghastly shade of yellow, and her face expressed with a sinister, insane smile that stretched across its diameter, revealing rotten green and brown teeth. But it was her daughter. This, of course, was impossible, as she had been dead and buried over a decade ago at the edge of the village. But she had still been wearing the same dress that she had been murdered in, the same dress that she had been buried in when she arose from the lake. The woman, known to her tribe as Akenefti-Oniga, began fumbling her way out of the water and to the shore. A smile graced her face. She felt assured that her daughter had been raised so as to exact revenge on her killers. As described previously, she was more than capable of finding her way back to the village without her sense of sight. With only a few minor bumps and trips, she had made it through the entrance of her abode. A satisfied smile on her face, she began looking for a place to lie down. And that's when her vision returned. Only, it wasn't her vision. She was seeing through the eyes of her deceased, yet reanimated daughter. Although she didn't quite know this at first, she realized what was happening when she saw a frail and rotted hand, signified by necrosis, holding up a small knife. The woman stopped all intentional movement and began to shake, especially when she caught sight of a sleeping Native American man beside a dying fire. She didn't want to watch, but it wasn't like she had a choice. It wasn't like she could shut her eyes. She was blinded, yet also connected to whatever it was that she had brought back. She watched as the man opened his eyes, slowly at first, and then instantly wide with fear. She watched his mouth stretch out so as to let out a powerful scream, but there was no sound to be heard, only the quiet of night that encompassed her in her actual surroundings. The man jumped to his feet and attempted to run. The eyes she was now looking through seemed to fly about the air at an excessively fast speed, only to catch up with the man in an instant. He kicked and flailed for escape, but the rotten hand never even flinched in its resolve to hold on to the thick hair on his skull. With a quick motion of the other hand, Akinifty-Oniga watched her resurrected daughter reach around the man's forehead with a small knife and began slicing into his flesh. As she began to pull his hair back, red, sticky blood and sinew began to reveal themselves. The man began to struggle more violently. It was then that her daughter's hand had... It was then, with her daughter's hand held dead still, that he attempted to just run off, tearing his scalp from his neck. The Lady of the Water watched the man run only about 4 steps before collapsing and writhing on the ground, ever slowing his movements. The long black hair connected to a bloody piece of flesh still hanging in the night air from her daughter's hand. Then, once again, her sight went solid black. Terrified by the images that she had just seen, fearing what she had possibly unleashed, the woman let out a powerful scream so forceful it brought nearly every able-bodied tribe member to her side. The first oddity each of them noticed was her blind eyes, now gone snow white. She explained to them what had happened and what she had seen. The chief was the most concerned, fearing that this grieving woman may have cursed herself, the land, or the entire tribe. He was in the middle of deliberating his concerns when her sight returned. This time, the resurrected beast had already apparently obtained her prey. Another young man, slightly shorter than the last, could be seen bound to a tree in the dead of night, struggling and seemingly begging for his freedom. She watched the man's mouth stretch open, and his head turned violently with each movement of his mouth. He was trying to call for help. And then, a festering, decaying hand, holding a broken stick slightly larger than the man's mouth, was viewed being raised into sight. When the man's mouth next opened for a shout, the other hand reached forward and kept open his jaw, just before the first jammed the branch deep into his mouth, cracking a few teeth and identifiably dislocating his jaw. The creature's sight turned downward to the man's waist and focused as the decaying right hand reached out for the hilt of his hunting knife. The woman began to cry and then laugh. She could feel the disapproving eyes of her tribe upon her, but she cared not. She knew that justice was being delivered. Akinifty-Oniga happily chuckled to herself, explaining in detail what she was seeing, delightfully watching her daughter gut the man alive and pull his innards free for the animals to claim. Her satisfaction had been reached when she watched the glowing light of life leave his dying eyes. When her vision returned to nothing but its former blackness, she listened on as the tribe decided what to do. For the time being, they would leave her to herself in her own shelter and discuss amongst each other the next course of preferable action. This would likely take a few days. For the woman of the water, she had made up her mind long before that. It was the following night, just after the village had resigned themselves to sleep just after the village had resigned themselves to sleep yet again. She would attempt to take the situation into her own hands. Once darkness had been upon them, while the tribe was still preparing to retire for night, Akinifty-Oniga watched her home intently while the others scurried about. She watched motionlessly while the others had finally entered the unconsciousness of sleep. She was out there, just on the edge of the village, and the woman knew that she had come for her. She had been watching her residence for hours, like a statue. Once she was certain that she wouldn't be followed, Akinifty-Oniga quietly walked outside, watching herself approach her daughter in their shared vision. She walked up to her, reached out her hand, and begged her to return herself to rest. An eternity passed in a moment. Neither one of them was moving. Not until her daughter had plunged a small knife into her abdomen, causing her to double over in pain and then fall to the forest floor. She thought to herself that if she could just get back to the water, just beg the spirits one last time, she may be able to end all this and return her daughter to peace. The woman cried in pain, watching herself drag her own body forward in her daughter's eyes, following just behind her, never gaining or losing an inch. The woman crawled into the shaded woods that separated her from the lake, the twigs on the forest floor digging and tearing at her wound. The pain was so intense, the woman began shouting out in agony as she slithered across the leaves and sticks. Her voice carried back to the village and awoke its residents. As they listened on to the screaming in the distance, they gathered their things and began trekking off into the direction that they had heard the wailing. The Lady of the Water had the water of the lake in sight by the time the pursuing members of her tribe made it to the darker portion of the forest. Blood stained the forest floor and bases of the trees, making an easily traceable path in which to follow her. The woman slid herself into the water, now clinging to life, the weightlessness of her body embraced by the support of submersion. The water became stained with thick red as she leaked out into the lake beneath a moonlit sky. She wept, watching her own self get closer through her daughter's eyes. The woman begged the spirits for forgiveness, to rescind her previous requests. Her prayers went unheard. The tribe arrived at the water's edge just in time to see the rotted girl reach out into her mother's stomach wound with 2 decayed hands and rip her open, with an insane glimmer upon the dead girl's face and a look of everlasting love on her mother's. The tribe stood upon the lake shore as they watched the 2 of them sink below the surface in each other's arms. A feud between the tribes nearly ensued as a result of the incident, but eventually, through ceremonies and offers of friendship, war would be avoided. The Susquehannock peoples remained in the area for some time, but eventually moved on and away from those mountains and those woods. If you talk to devout descendants of the Susquehannock people, they'll tell you the tribe abandoned the area because the land had become tainted. The mutilated corpses were never removed from the lake. Animal life seemed to dwindle, and the tribe experienced a series of unspeakable events. It is said that her constant remorse, her daily grief at the lake, brought about a curse upon herself that leaked into the water and the surrounding land through her spilled blood. The lake and land itself, remembering the tragedy that befell it so many years ago, much like the trees remember the battle of the bear and the deer. They say that Akinifty was never recovered because her spirit is still there, alive in the water and surrounding forest. I'm telling you all this now because another 12 years has passed by at Locust Lake, and the time for resurrecting Pratt. I'm telling you all this now because another 12 years has passed by at Locust Lake, and the time for resurrecting past tragedies is upon us once again. Alright, figures I had to mess up on the very last line, but that is The Lady of the Water, the origins of Locust Lake. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I know I messed up, on that last line, which is like the worst, and right at the beginning before I even started. But beyond that, it was pretty clean. I didn't mess up too much, I don't think. So, whew, that felt good. I like that story. I really like that story. Doughboy wrote the first half of it, right up until the point where it was another 12 years, and the Festival of Reason was upon them again. And then I took over from there and wrote the second half of that. So, awesome. Thank you guys so much, so very, very, very much. You know me. You know I absolutely love the Locust Lake stories. They're like my favorite stories. I would say besides Confronting Evil, but Confronting Evil is the successor to Locust Lake, so I'm kind of just grouping both those series together because I love them both with all my heart. Thank you very much, Lady Nopingham. I did see you come in. I just wanted to say, thank you for stopping by. I didn't want you to think I was ignoring you. Usually when I start the reading, I try to block out the chat, but I did see you pop in. So, hello. Hope you're having a good Friday, and thank you so much for being here. Whew, that was fun. I like that story a lot. It felt good. I'm glad I actually got through it. I got through it well, and I'm confident I'll be able to turn that into like a repurposed version this coming week. So you'll probably see a repurposed version of that with sound effects and the screw-ups cut out go up on Wednesday. And then next Saturday, a few days after that, is the brand new Locust Lake story. And then, like, a few days after that is the book promotion stream. Because by then, the new book will have dropped. And I am very excited for this new book. Months and months and months and months of work. Tons and tons of editing. Tons and tons of artwork. It was quite the challenge. When Doughboy writes, he writes for narration, which is good, because when you're narrating a story, the dot and stuff like that kind of comes in handy. But when you're going back to edit it for a book, it makes for some minor changes, but obviously you want to change it so the punctuation and stuff is correct. And then doing that for 110,000 words worth of content was quite the undertaking. So I'm very excited that this new book is almost out. I'm going to give my throat here a chance to relax for a second, probably hit my vape once or twice. You guys, at the end, do the bloopers. I should do I haven't done a blooper reel in a while. I might do that, Frank. I don't know if I will. I'm not going to make any promises, but I'll definitely consider it. There'll only be like 3 bloopers, though, but yeah, I could do that. We'll see. I'll think about it. Whew. Well, I did not think I was going to be able to
I think I was going to be able to get through that. I'm very proud of myself. I got through it. ISB, you do not have to apologize for being a fanboy of the content. I think that's awesome. So thank you. I'm actually really, really happy that you enjoy the content so much. And I'm very happy that I was able to keep true to my promise and get you guys the Locust Lake at the beginning of this year. Thank God for those, like, that quasi 2 weeks off during Christmas, because that's what really, really gave me the boost that I needed. Whew, thank you, Frank. I'm glad somebody did. I did not. And I don't know how well I got my computer turned all the way down, so I don't know, like, how well the music went with the story. I'm sure there was probably some contrasting things in there. I'm glad I was able to, like, put music and video and stuff in this, though. Like, it's gonna make repurposing this a little bit easier. So, cool beans. Whew. All right. I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to talk about. Yeah, I could keep talking about the book, obviously. I did tell you guys that the promotion stream is coming. I told you that there's a new Locust Lake on the way. And I could sit here and talk about Confronting Evil. But it's coming out tomorrow. Part 5 is, anyway. Which marks halfway through the season. It's 10 episode seasons running October through June. And episode 5 marks the halfway point. So we are halfway through CE at the end of tomorrow. So, or at least, season 1. Don't fear not. Season 2 will be back in October. So you're gonna have like a three month gap in between Confronting Evils. But Confronting Evil will return. I promise. In fact, it's all planned out, like outlined, the whole nine. Doughboy and I have been brainstorming up a storm. So. Got some really, really, really cool things coming for everybody in the weeks to come and the year to come. And just like this last Halloween and last Christmas was an absolute blowout, I can basically promise you that this year is not going to be any different. If it is different, it'll be it'll be different in a good way. So, good stuff, good times. If you guys want to go ahead and throw any comments in, if you have any questions for me, Q&A, whatever you want, obviously go ahead and throw it in there. I don't know how long I'm going to keep the stream going, only because I'm basically out of topics, and I didn't think I'd get through that story so fast. Thank you, Minty. I'm actually really glad. I'll be going back to hear it myself too when I re-edit it. So. But I'm glad it went together well. That was one of my concerns. My favorite scary movie? I honestly thought that was, like, obvious. I don't have a favorite scary movie, per se. I have a favorite scary movie franchise. I have a favorite movie franchise, not just scary movie. This movie franchise is my favorite movie franchise of all time. And if I had to pick a favorite, it would be one out of the franchise. But considering I love the franchise basically in its entirety, I don't have a favorite movie in the franchise. So I just love the entire franchise. And my favorite movie franchise is the Friday the 13th movies. I love the Jason films. It's why I've modeled my YouTube avatar to be similar to Jason. Obviously, the hockey mask. It's different hockey mask, but it is a hockey mask. That's why I wrote Friday the 13th NES. Like, somebody needs to get Jason into the creepypasta realm, and this is probably the best way I know how to do it. Love that story. Very proud to be the one that actually wrote it. Is just a really big honor to me. Love Jason X. I did like the ideas for the scripts before the movie released, like the original ideas. It was supposed to be much darker. Probably much more closer. I'm not saying like, movie-wise, because Jason Takes Manhattan, well, we won't talk about its flaws, because it does have flaws. I know if I had to pick a favorite movie, Jason Takes Manhattan wouldn't be my favorite. But But again, still love it all the same. It's part of the franchise, and I love Kane Hodder. He completely saved the movie. But the aesthetic of the movie, the darker cinematography, just the way that they did the movie, that's how Jason X was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a much darker film. Then they made it kind of comic booky and campy with bright colors and stuff like that, which, don't get me wrong, Jason X is a great movie. It's a really good ride, and I love how it ends the series. It ends the old series with Jason being alive hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years from now, and he's still alive at the end of the movie on a completely different planet. So basically they immortalized Jason, and in my opinion, they don't need to make any more Jason movies in this old timeline. Make new ones. If the remake wasn't that good, I don't care. Make a sequel to the remake. If you make a movie and say it's in the old timeline, I'm just going to say no, it's not, and I'm going to imagine it being part of the remake timeline, because the old timeline needs to be left alone. Leave it alone, please, please. I'm actually really happy to hear that Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller are kind of at odds. Sean Cunningham won the rights to Jason, but Victor Miller won the rights to Friday the 13th. So neither one of them can make a Friday the 13th movie without the other. I mean, they could, but it wouldn't really be Jason. It would have to have a completely different backstory to Jason. Or it would be a Friday the 13th, a part 2 to part 1 that didn't have Jason in it. And they make like they did with the Halloween movies. And let's face it, both those scenarios would be absolutely freaking stupid. So I'm actually kind of happy, though, that happened that way, because that means they won't be able to fuck up the series for a very long time, if ever. Leave Jason alone. Come out with some new ideas. Jason will always be my favorite, but come on, impress me. Make up a new monster that comes back to life and kills everybody and has 13 movies. Hell, do it with Chrome Skull. Laid to Rest was a great movie. Laid to Rest 2 was a great movie. Just make the Laid to Rest killer come back from the dead and make a spin on that. I'm down for it, man. I loved those movies. So, yeah, that's my view on the Friday the 13th. I love them so much. I want them to be left alone. And for that reason, and also someday when I die, I don't want them to make another one after that point, because I'll never get a chance to see it. So if they stop making them now, I know that I've seen every Jason movie, and I've learned every Jason movie inside and out, and I can die peacefully, and I can rest in my grave peacefully. No, trust me, Frank, I don't underestimate. And that's why I said, in my mind, it will be a sequel to the remake, or it'll be a completely different timeline, and I can just disregard it then. I'll hate it. I won't like what they'll have done to my movies, but the original timeline is still there. They have all 12, no, the remakes there. So there's 11 movies there for me to enjoy. I'm perfectly happy with that, man. I could sit down and do a Friday the 13th marathon and have it last me all day and not watch one shitty movie. So I'm cool with that. I'm cool with it. But I'm hoping, again, it's a fool's dream. I know that they'll make more. I know that they'll fuck it up. I understand that. I have 110% faith that will guaranteed happen. But I'm allowed to dream. I'm allowed to hope that it don't. And I'm going to cling to that hope until it's no longer possible. Whew. Well, I think it's been almost an hour, 53 minutes, almost 54 minutes. I think this is a good place to leave it for the night. I really, really, really want to thank you guys all for stopping in tonight. Hold on, what's the difference between the Howling Wolf and the Screaming Girl with the chainsaw in the intros? Oh, in my intros to the stories. Well, two of those, the one with the wolf and the one with the mask and the eyes and like the creepy little sound effect, those are actually leftover intros from my channel. And then there's obviously the wolf one as well. I did have a few more different ones on my old channel as well, and typically I use them to go with the style of the story. So if the story is about a serial killer, I might use the chainsaw one with the girl screaming. If the story is about some cryptid creature or something lurking in the dark, I might use the werewolf one. So that's kind of how I differentiate between them. And I also try not to be repetitive. So like the Tuesday tidbit will probably have a different intro than the Thursday tidbit. And I kind of try and rotate them to just, not be overly repetitive. I should make more intros. So die before being introduced without bringing it with me when I die. Thank you. In fact, Frank, I can tell you if a new Jason movie comes out after I die and you go to see it, I will probably be sitting on your shoulder and watching it. So if you notice the air has gone really cold all of a sudden, don't be scared. Grab a sweater. It's just me chilling out watching the movie with you. Because, when it comes to Jason, I'll be there. My wife's going to be burying me with a hockey mask because if I can come back, I'm going to. So I can stalk summer camps while wearing a hockey mask. And a machete. Don't worry, I'm not actually going to go around killing teenagers. Just might hurt them a little.
Maybe.
And if there's really bad people, like I'll kill those people. Like that'll happen. So anyways, that's the plan. That's the plan. I don't know, because I kind of see myself as like a little angel sitting on your shoulder. Or maybe the little devil guy sitting on the other one telling you to do bad shit. I'm sorry, I could kind of see me being that dude, Frank. But yeah, I know, whatever. I'll sit next to you. Just share the popcorn. As long as you're sharing the popcorn, man. And freaking Raisinets. Raisinets are a must.
Snow caps.
Raisinets are a must.
Snow caps too.
Raisinets are a must. Wife says snow caps.
Snow caps are awesome.
Alrighty. Absolutely, Lady Nopingham. You please have a good night as well. I am also going to be stepping out. I want to thank you guys so much for stopping in tonight. I absolutely love you all. I know Fridays can be really, really busy. So thank you so much. Hope you guys really enjoyed the story, and I hope you're looking forward to the brand new Locust Lake story, and I really hope you're looking forward to the release of the new book. I will talk to you all very soon, and very much hope to see you tomorrow night at the premiere of episode 5 of Confronting Evil. Talk to you then. Ta-ta for now. Milk Duds agreed. And bye-bye.